How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want a chance of one of your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below and I'll either answer the question in that comment itself or in a future video just like this one, or make a dedicated video if need be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week, and it is on these Honda 1.5Ts. Is it okay to do the head studs while the head is still on the car? So obviously that is not the recommended way to do it, although if you would like to do it at that point, it could be done. My only concern would be if there's already an ongoing issue and you try to solve the issue by replacing the head studs at this point, it may be too little too late. So if you do have one of these engines, I would probably recommend, and this is one of your concerns, I would recommend doing it as soon as you get the vehicle, preferably when newer. Now, obviously that could be a tricky situation considering that the vehicle has a new car warranty, and it's probably not something you should be doing. Although, once again, if you are concerned with this, you can most definitely do it. I would personally still take out the head. And if you're doing this, if you bought the car used and you just want to do it proactively, chances are the head gasket's either bad at that point or probably compromised as well. So in that situation, I would wait until you actually have some symptoms to address this issue. At that point, the head gasket would be compromised anyways, or blown, sometimes even cracked. I found some cracked right in between the cylinders. So that is a situation that we are seeing. So really a complicated question to answer here. Obviously, to put it simple, the right way to do it would be to remove the head, replace the head gasket with a fresh one, check the deck on the block, check the head, make sure everything is nice and straight. If it's not, then obviously address those issues at that time as well. And then install the head studs, and from there on out, you should be more than okay with those head studs. The issue is not the actual head gasket. The issue is the head lifting and causing the head to blow, or one of the issues that we are seeing. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is CVT transmission plugs popping off. And I actually made a video on this past week. Is there a bigger issue? And personally, I think it's just a vent tube that it gets clogged, and it does. We see this time and time again. After we clean it, typically we don't see the plug popping off unless if the plug is sort of dry rotted from sitting there and picking up excessive heat that it shouldn't be. In this case, if you replace it with a new plug, it should be okay. Some people did find other ways to keep the plug in there with some electrical tape and other measures like that. So that would all be okay. Just make sure no electrical tape is dangling and possibly getting caught in there and getting dragged into the trans. So the only issue I see with the plug popping off is obviously debris getting in there, leaves, acorns, rust. If you're working on a vehicle and you happen to drop a bolt and it goes inside the transmission, obviously that can be pretty catastrophic. So if you have one of these cars, and I'll list them in a comment section down below, then it's something you're going to want to take a look at. And real simple, real easy. You look down the transmission and you see if the plug is either there. If it's not there, 9 out of 10 times it's somewhere close by. It doesn't seem to really leave the transmission, which is nice because you don't have to go out and buy one unless if, again, it's dry rotted and it just fits real loosely on there. So real simple to do. I'll link the video as well if you're interested in watching that video. And you just remove the plug, blow it out, clean it out, put it back in, and put the plug back in as well, and you are good to go from there in most cases. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so next question is, what are some signs of a failing alternator? Obviously, number one being that you're driving a vehicle, the battery light comes on, the vehicle stalls, and you're stuck. That will probably be a pretty good indicator that your alternator, your charging system, your battery, or something along those lines have failed. Now, sometimes there is signs leading up to that. Sometimes it'll be fine and the battery light will come on, especially on a J series where the VCM leaks onto the alternator. And that's kind of some of the signs early on signs that we do see. Now, obviously, you want to check all your connections, make sure your terminals are nice and tight. A lot of people don't tighten these terminals enough, or sometimes too much. And after I tighten every terminal, I give it a good twist with my hands, both a negative and a positive, and really put your weight into it. And it shouldn't move at all. If you got any sort of movement, that could give you a false contact at times and causing you intermittent issues. Now, another way to tell is if you're driving at night and anytime a load comes on, for example, the AC compressor, or maybe you turn on the high beams, or you turn on the turn signal and you see the headlights dimming a little bit and then coming back up. That's pretty good indicator that you might have an issue starting to occur at that point. It should be a pretty seamless transition with a good charging system. Sometimes on an older vehicle with dirty grounds, dirty cables, stuff like that, you could see a small period where the lights dim and then come back on. Again, not necessarily an alternator, but could be the early signs of one failing, and you should probably have it tested at that time. I personally like to do a idle test, and then I'll rev it and make sure it's charging anywhere above 14 volts is pretty good. Ideally, you want to as close as possible to like 14.5, 14.6, but almost never it's exactly there. Most importantly, once you add a load, it should drop temporarily and come almost right back up to what you had previously with no load. So if you're charging, let's say at 14.2, 14.3, everything is good, you turn on a load and it drops like 13.5 and it doesn't pick it back up, then obviously you have an issue going on there and you need to take a deeper look. So hopefully that answers the question for you. Next question is Honda radar anti-theft bracket. Do you need one? If you've been following my channel, this is a big issue in the NYC and surrounding areas. So Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Yonkers, Harlem, in Jersey, we'll say Patterson, West New York, Jersey City, Union, Hillside, Newark, etc., etc. Now, some people did comment that they had their radar stolen on their cars out in Texas, California. It's all over the country, mostly bigger cities or more densely populated areas. So the cars affected are 18 to 24 Cord, and then 17 to 24 CRVs. And we are seeing a trend upwards on the new pilots as well, so the 23 and up. So I have brackets for all of them except for the pilot. So the person I get them from is working on these brackets for the pilots, and as soon as I have them, I will share that I have them. Now, I could sell these to people out of state, although I'm going to be working on a video to kind of guide the person install these items. So it's not as easy as it looks. It has to be centered so we don't cause any more issues than we need to. So the question is, do you need one? That really depends on the area that you live in and the area that you frequently visit. Now, a lot of people will say, well, just move out of that crappy neighborhood or that crappy town or whatever the case may be. But that's easier said than done, right? Not everyone has the benefits or the possibilities of doing that. So if you live in an area where theft is high, and it could be radars, obviously is a big theft, wheels, airbags, that's stuff that we see here in the New York City area. So if you live in one of those areas, doesn't matter, it could be in the United States, could be in Canada, whatever. If there's a high theft area in your area, and these cars are being targeted, you probably want to consider getting one of these devices installed. So again, if you're in the New York City area, I can most definitely do it for you. But if you need it, don't be naive. If you know that, this is an issue in your area, don't say it's not going to happen to you. Chances are eventually, unfortunately, it'll probably happen to you. Now, if you could park in a garage or a well-lit area, it gets some sort of a shock sensor, alarm system. That's all good. The more stuff you could do to either keep them from doing it or slow them down, the better. And that's kind of what these brackets do. They're not 100% guaranteed, but sure beats them just walking up to it and yanking it out. It literally takes a matter of 5 to 10 seconds at most. So once they see these brackets, what we see is they don't want to be bothered. They don't want the extra work, and they'll move on to the next unfortunate person. So, if you're one of these person that has these radar brackets, that's great for you, but unfortunately somebody else will be a target. Now, why are these being stolen? And the reason is these radars, they get damaged in front end collisions. So obviously new ones could range anywhere from like $450 to like $1,800-$1,900. So it's a lot cheaper for a body shop or an owner or a person or whatever the case may be to go and take one versus paying whatever it costs for a new one. So something unfortunate, something that we have to do, but it is a good solution for anybody interested. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, last but not least, question of the week. And again, if you want a chance on one of your questions being answered, make sure you do drop a comment down below. And the question is, if you have a noise concern or some sort of an issue, drivability issue, and your dealership cannot duplicate it, what should you do? Well, it's frustrating both for you and the advisor and the technician. It's frustrating for everybody, especially if it's an intermittent issue. So if it's an intermittent issue, try to get it on video or narrow down what exactly makes that happen. Now, it could be, completely random, which is fine, but any sort of details you have on this issue, whether it be a drivability issue, a check engine light, a pulling, a noise, whatever, try to narrow it down as much as possible. Give that information to the service provider or the technician. If you've been back multiple times, maybe get the working technician and go on a test drive with them. And again, try to duplicate exactly what it is. Once the technician hears a noise or whatever the case may be, then chances are he'll be able to know what he's looking for, because a lot of times some of these cars or some people will complain about a certain noise, but the same exact noise on a different car won't bother somebody, right? So try to bring that noise to the technician as much as possible, even if you maybe have a video of it. Sometimes the videos don't really translate and show the noise as much as it's really happening, or it just sounds a little bit different, but anything would help. So any sort of pattern, night, day, over bumps, driving left, driving right, making turns, backwards, whatever the case may be, information, details matter. So again, service advisors sometimes, and most of them are great. Sometimes you'll get a not so great one, and the RO will literally say, customer states there is a noise. Well, that's great. That's horrible. That doesn't mean anything to me, right? It could be a million different noises. So try to give as much detail to the advisor. And if it's been an ongoing concern, request a test drive with a technician. Now, I know a lot of technicians don't like to test drive with customers, although a lot of times you waste so much time trying to find a noise that the customer could just duplicate by going over a driveway or, again, whatever the case may be. And it just saves you and the technician and the dealership so much unwanted headaches. So that would be my advice for that. Now, if the dealer is just turning you away, you could either call corporate or visit a different dealer. Now, dealers are independently owned. Some of them cater more to customers than others, and that's really on the dealer, unfortunately. But hopefully you guys find a good dealer or a good mechanic. If it's a car out of warranty, the same principles apply, right? The same rules. And again, if they're having a hard time, duplicate the concern, go on a test drive with them, information, details, all that stuff to try to help them as much as possible. With that being said, I'll catch everyone on the next one.